All right, y'all. Before I start this epic reading off, I wanted you guys to hear this thing that I did the other day, and just to understand the level of difficulty I've had bringing this work to you. This is undoubtedly going to rival what it is, White Heaven, the rapture that already happened. Don't worry, the rapture that was 2.0 is coming. It's on its way. I'm just working in some fine-tuned details of some things that have come to the light since our first discovery of these wicked things and where they come from. However, let's go to my videos. I'm not going to bring this up. I just want you guys to hear the audio of what they did to me. The understanding it hurts my soul to know that even on my computer, there is no safe haven. Here we go. One moment while it loads. Just give it a second, please. It's afraid to get exposed, I guess. But just listen to how the recording does that weird thing that it does to my voice in some of the videos, and I don't always catch it. I normally do, and I just re-record. Listen to this.
Today, I pay homage to the greatest American hero that ever lived. You guys probably think it's one of these civil rights actors. Not. And when I say that he is the by far greatest American hero who ever lived, there is no is one of one. And
you guys hear that nonsense? That's what I went through after I recorded for 20 minutes or better what was a very interesting piece about one George Washington Carver. Now we're going to read the article ourselves. Mind any pop-ups that come up, mind any noise that it makes. It'll be mitigated because this is live recorded and you get to see the screen. Make sure that this is all squared up for you. Okay, that's good size. But I'm gonna still make it a little bit bigger. Just a little bit. There we go. It says George Washington Carver was a prominent American scientist and inventor in the early 1900s. Now, before we get too carried away with anything in this article, the entire purpose of this is to extol the fact that George Washington Carver is the greatest American hero ever, all time. He's greater than Martin Luther King. He's greater than Malcolm X. He's greater than any other black man you could put, any other inventor you can put side by. There is no man likened to him. None. There isn't a, trust me, the list goes on of what black men have done in this country. There is none likened to him. He is one of one. He is a very special man. Very, very special man. And with that being said, I wouldn't want anyone to ever antiquate his legacy to being a man who did something with peanuts. That is such a disrespectful notion, but we're going to get past that and we're just going to read. George Washington Carver was a prominent American scientist and inventor in the early 1900s. Carver developed hundreds of products using the peanut, sweet potatoes, and soybeans. He was also a champion of crop rotation and agricultural education. Born into slavery, today he is an icon of American ingenuity and the transformative potential of education. Now we're going to stop right there. We're going to combat several things. First off, his champion of crop rotation should have been the very first thing that they said. Forget the American, forget the scientist, forget the inventor, okay? His crop rotation and agricultural education, this man is a husbandman of husbandmen, and that is what Adam was, and you guys need to appreciate it. Okay? Even his son Cain was a tiller of the land. Can you dig? All right? Yes, this is true. But however, we're just going to just focus on the fact that he is a husbandman of husbandmen. He is the greatest American hero ever of all time. His crop rotation, as it does not delve off into the problematic situation and historical significance of the Dust Bowl, nor will people ever talk about the similar conditions that were likened all across the country at a certain region, as far as Alabama. We won't talk about that just yet. I just need you guys to understand this man is the greatest American hero. If you don't get that, if you didn't hear nothing else and they left, they got to get that piece, y'all. His early life. Carver was likely born in January or June of 1864. His exact birth date is unknown because he was born a slave on the farm of Moses Carver in Diamond, Missouri. Very little is known about George's father, who may have been a field hand named Giles, who was killed in a farming accident before George was born. George's mother was named Mary. He had several sisters and a brother named James. Just going to keep on moving on down. Patience will prevail. Every time, John. There we go. Let's go ahead and go back up just a little bit. Something like this. Oh my goodness, I don't know what is wrong with this. There we go. When George was only a few weeks old, Confederate raiders invaded the farm, kidnapping George, his mother, and sister. They were sold in Kentucky, and only George was found by an agent of Moses Carver and returned to Missouri. Carver and his wife, Susan, raised George and James and taught them to read. James soon gave up the lessons, preferring to work in the field with his foster father. George was not a strong child and was not able to work in the fields, so Susan taught the boy to help her in the kitchen garden and to make simple herbal medicines. Now, there's no actual validity to the claim that she did any of this. George could said this in his life, but this man could have learned these things literally all on his own. And I'm going to just leave it at that. George became fascinated by plants and was soon experimenting with natural pesticides, fungicides, and soil conditioners. Local farmers began to call George the plant doctor. He's a little boy getting called the plant doctor. Come on. And he was able to tell them how to improve the health of their garden plants. After his wife's insistence, Moses found a school that would accept George as a student. George walked the 10 miles several times a week to attend the school for African American children in Neosho, Kansas. Now understand, we're going to be polite to the writer of this article. We're not going to get too crazy about how they've titled certain things. You know, that's why I was going in the way I did earlier. But we know that it was not considered an African American school for children. You know what I mean? It wasn't called African American back then. Anyway, it's just a notion that they like to put forth to be friendly as opposed to saying colored or Negro. Right on? When he was about 13 years old, he left the farm to move to Fort Scott, Kansas, but he later moved to Minneapolis, Kansas to attend high school. He earned much of his tuition by working in the kitchen of a local hotel. He concocted new recipes, which he entered in local baking contests. He graduated from Minneapolis High School in 1880 and set his sights on college. Now listen to this right here. If this man was indeed born in 1864 like they're claiming, right, and not 1860, do you realize he's 16 years old when all this is going down? College years. George first applied to Highland Presbyterian College in Kansas. The college was impressed by George's application essay and granted him a full scholarship. When he arrived at the school, however, he was turned away. They hadn't realized he was black. Over the next few years, George worked at a variety. Oh yeah, he's black. Whoa, whoa, bro. Your name was George Washington Carver? You uppity nigga, get out of here. You know, they probably didn't have anything kind to say. I'm quite sure they didn't. Over the next few years, still the greatest American hero, George worked at a variety of jobs. He homesteaded a farm in Kansas, worked a ranch in New Mexico, and worked for the railroads, always saving money and looking for a college that would accept him. I bet you George is happy that Jenny Cupper came out. Anyway, we're going to move on. In 1888, George enrolled as the first black. I just can't think of the brother's name right now, who was the inventor of the Jenny Cupper, who saved countless number of lives. Anyway, we're not going to get into. Once again, another great American hero. There's a lot of epic guys, but this is the greatest, in my eyes. In 1888, George enrolled as the first black student at Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa. He began studying art and piano, expecting to earn a teaching degree. Carver later said, this is in quotes, "The kind of people at Simpson College made me believe I was a human being," in quotes. So that means that the people who weren't at Simpson College did not make him feel like he was a human being. We're going to go ahead and move forward. Recognizing the unusual attention to detail in his painting of plants and flowers, his instructor, Etta Budd, what a very, very appropriate name for a flower person, encouraged him to apply at Iowa State Agricultural School, now Iowa State University, to study botany. At Iowa State, Carver was the first African-American student to earn his Bachelor of Science in 1894. Okay? So you guys got to understand, if this man is really born in 1864, he's 30 at this point. Okay? His professors were so impressed by his work on the fungal infections common to soybean plants that he was asked to remain as a part of the faculty to work on his master's degree, awarded in 1896. Working as director of Iowa State Experimental Station, Carver discovered two types of fungi, which were subsequently named for him. Carver also began experiments in crop rotation, using soy plantings to replace nitrogen in depleted soil. Before long, Carver became well known as a leading agricultural scientist. Stop right there. He was the guy. Just because he's black, he can't be the guy back then. You guys get that? You get that? You understand? Moving on. The Tuskegee Institute. And all this right here, what he did, let me stop right there. Let me stop myself and caveat. His discovery, his observation of nitrogen replenishment, okay, from the soy plant, because we're going to note that what happens with peanuts and sweet potatoes, this is another thing, but he may have discovered it with the soy. Can you dig it? And it may be best with soy, but it may, forget it, I'm not going to ruin the article for you, we're just going to keep reading. Tuskegee Institute. In 1896, and I'll just try to keep that in my mind. In April 1896, Carver received a letter from Booker T. Washington of Tuskegee Institute, one of the first African-American colleges in the United States. "I cannot offer you money," this is in quotes, "I cannot offer you money, position, or fame," read this letter. In quotes again, "The first two you have, the last from the position you now occupy, you will no doubt achieve. These things I now ask you to give up. I offer you in their place work, hard work, the task of bringing people from degradation, poverty, and waste to full manhood. Your department exists only on paper, and your laboratory will have to be in your mind. I will have to be in your head, excuse me." Washington's offer was $125 per month, a substantial cut from Carver's Iowa State salary, and the luxury of 2 rooms for living quarters, most Tuskegee faculty members had just one. It was an offer that George Carver, see, at the time he's just George Carver. I need y'all to understand this. We'll keep reading and you'll understand why he takes that on. George Carver accepted immediately, and the place where he worked for the rest of his life. And he worked for the remainder, and the place where he worked for the remainder of his life. Excuse me. Carver was determined to use his knowledge to help poor farmers of the rural South. Now let's go ahead and stop right there. We need a caveat and speak on the fact that they're talking about black people right now, okay? Man, if you really think Booker T. Washington really cared about white people, you're out of your mind. It's the idea of inclusion, just like they do for us, but that's why these things never go the right way. But if you just tell somebody I'm out for mines, it's way easier for them to just, because then you'll see that they'll never let you do that. But anyway, moving on. Carver was determined to use his knowledge to help poor farmers of the rural South. He began by introducing the idea of crop rotation. Do you know what Carver was doing? Carver was laying the foundation to preventing a dust bowl from taking place in what you know as the Southeast United States. And he also prevented the dust bowl from taking place in the greater part of Iowa. Right on? Like whatever damage it received, he greatly reduced it. Any place where they picked up the implementation of these farming routines before the Dust Bowl, he greatly reduced the damage that could have truly been done. Anyway, let me just go ahead and keep pushing. Carver was determined to use his knowledge to help poor farmers of the rural South. He began by introducing the idea of crop rotation, the replenishment of the soil. In the Tuskegee experimental fields, Carver settled on peanuts because it was a simple crop to grow and had excellent nitrogen fixation properties to improve soil depleted by growing cotton. So what he's trying to say right now is that it doesn't take too much work for these people to grow it, right? And the properties that it has, it replenishes enough of the nitrogen that is worthy of growing moving forward. And cotton depletes the soil of the nitrogen, and I told you guys about this before. He took his lessons to former slaves, turned sharecroppers by inventing the Jessup wagon, a horse-drawn classroom and laboratory for demonstrating soil chemistry. Come on. He's where real soil conservation... This man is where soil conservations come from. But anyway, we're not even going to talk about that. Farmers were ecstatic with large cotton crops resulting from the cotton peanut rotation, but were less enthusiastic about the huge surplus of peanuts that built up and began to rot in local storehouses. Hold on, here we go. Things get interesting. Look at this man for a moment. Go ahead and look at him. He made it to where, listen, that crop rotation, because there were black people who did grow sweet potatoes, who did grow yams, who did grow soybeans, right on, and ate what they grew. This man helped feed so many souls you just don't even understand, y'all, and it's so deep. His legacy has been antiquated once again to being a peanut man, but I'm here to set the record straight. He's the greatest American hero. If won't nobody else say it, I'll say it for him, and I'm gonna say that. And I dare anybody to try to jostle with me on that. I'm ready. Look at him working in his laboratory, looking like a straight original. Looking like a straight man. Oh my goodness, this stuff is so crazy, dude. It's crazy. Peanut products. That man is a genius, dude. Just a complete, absolute genius. His mind, totally underrated. Carver heard the complaints and retired to his laboratory, talking about the complaints of the rotting peanuts, and retired to his laboratory for a solid week, which he developed several new products that could be produced from peanuts, when he introduced these products to the public in a series of simple brochures. The market for peanuts skyrocketed. Today, Carver is credited with saving the agricultural economy of the rural South. No, he should be credited with saving the agricultural economy of the entire United States and keeping motherfuckers from starving, but we're going to keep it pushing. You don't think that they use these same tactics all across the U.S.? Come on, man. Get over yourself. Anyway, from his work at Tuskegee, Carver developed approximately 300 products made from peanuts. These included flour, paste, insulation, paper, wallboard, wood stains, soap, shaving cream, and skin lotion. He experimented with medicines made from peanuts, which included antiseptics, laxatives, and a treatment for goiter, which is like a enlarged gland in your throat or whatever, like an enlarged thyroid gland, which makes it hard to swallow or breathe. I looked it up. What about peanut butter? Contrary to popular belief, while Carver developed a version of peanut butter, he did not invent it. The Incas, anyway, they're going to go through this whole diatribe of nonsense. The Incas developed a paste made out of out of ground peanuts as far as back as 950 BC. In the United States, according to the National Peanut Board, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg of cereal fame invented a version of peanut butter in 1895. A St. Louis physician may have developed peanut butter as a protein substitute for people who had poor teeth and couldn't chew meat. Peanut butter was introduced at the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904. They just say stuff like that because they don't know. They always want to credit themselves with something as opposed to just saying like, who knows how long it's been around. Anyway, and his peanut butter tasted so good that people. Anyway, do you see that? He got behind the peanut and all of a sudden it took off. This is what black people do. I want y'all to understand, man. He's the greatest American hero. They lost cotton in a lot of different ways where the stranglehold on it was lost. You see what I'm saying? Word. But they got other things. This man, anyway, man, he helped them do so much. Let me stop it. Aiding the war effort. During World War I, Carver was asked to assist Henry Ford in producing a peanut-based rubber replacement. A peanut-based replacement for rubber. Also during the war, when dyes from Europe became difficult to obtain, he helped the American textile industry by developing more than 30 colors of dye from Alabama soils. Come on, man, he's too much, man. Listen to, he's the greatest American. He's the greatest American hero. He's the dude, man. Okay, he's him. He's that guy. If you ever wanted to know who it was, it's George Washington Carver. George Carver. After the war, George added W to his name to honor Booker T. Washington. Come on, to honor his bro, man. Thank you. Carver continued to experiment with peanut products and became interested in sweet potatoes and other nitrogen-fixing crop. Products he invented using sweet potatoes including wood fillers, more than 73 dyes, rope, breakfast cereal, synthetic milk, shoe polish, and molasses. He wrote several brochures on the nutritional value of sweet potatoes and the protein found in peanuts, including recipes he invented for use of his favorite plants. He even went to India to confer with Mahatma Gandhi on nutrition in developing nations. This is how people in developing nations actually got to where they're at now because of George Washington Carver. Greatest American hero, one of the greatest men to ever live. I don't give a damn what nobody says. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm right. Anyway, let's go ahead and keep reading. In 1920, Carver delivered a speech to the Peanut Growers Association of America. The organization was advocating that Congress pass a tariff law to protect the new American industry from imported crops. As a result of this speech, he testified before Congress in 1921, and the tariff was passed in 1922. Come on. In 1923, Carver was named as Speaker for the United States Commission on Interracial Cooperation, a post he held till 1933. Okay? In 1935, he was named the head of division of plant mycology, which is like fungi, stuff like that, disease survey for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. By 1938, largely due to Carver's influence, peanuts had grown to be a 200 million per year crop in the U.S. and were the chief agricultural product grown in the state of Alabama. Once again, I need y'all to understand this. by him working his hand all over the place, right? And every state copying this dude. Places that had wind come down that pushed all the way down into the Midwest. The reason why they didn't get so devastated is number one is because the places in the North didn't practice slavery as heavily, right? And then number two, a lot of these places started to grow crops so that way they could replenish the land, but that's neither here nor there. Carver's legacy. Carver died on January 5, 1943. After his death, he left his little savings. Oh, excuse me. Just skipped on us. We're going to go back up. He left his little savings. He left his life savings. Excuse me, it's not that much. More than $60,000 to found the George Washington Carver Institute for Agriculture at Tuskegee. For everything he did, all he had was 60 grand, y'all. I want you guys to really think about that. This man helped create a $200 million per year industry, and all he had was 60 grand. Outside of everything else he did, this is how you do the greatest American hero. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm gonna keep it pushing. In 1943, but he used his money though, and it founded the George Washington Carver Institute for Agriculture at Tuskegee. In 1943, President Franklin D. Roosevelt dedicated funds to erect a monument at Diamond, Missouri in his honor. He had to do none of that. Wicked devils. What you should have done was went and found anybody that was in his family and broke him off a super duper crazy check. This is the type of stuff that restitution is based on. These are the type of arguments that reparations are based on, okay? Your so-called leaders don't know a damn thing. If they knew anything, they would listen to me and they would follow what I'm saying to them so that way they could get something done. They don't know nothing. Commemorative postage stamps were issued in 1948 and again in 1998. A George Washington Carver half-dollar coin was minted in 1951 and 54. There are 2 U.S. military vessels named in his honor. There are also numerous scholarships and schools named for him. He was awarded an honorary doctorate from Simpson College. Since his exact birthday is unknown, Congress has designated January 5 as George Washington Carver Recognition Day. Carver only patented 3 of his inventions. In his words, this is in quotes, "It is not the style of clothes one wears, neither the kind of automobile one drives, nor the amount of money one has in the bank that counts." There we go. These mean nothing. I'm so glad I caught myself. It is simply service that measures success. I want you guys to understand that. I'm gonna read that last part. It is simply service that measures success. The service that he paid for is immeasurable. He laid the foundation for people to eat, for the future leaders who people call the leaders to come up to even have a chance, because Jim Crow was real, but we're not going to talk about Jim Crow and all that right now. We're talking about the greatest American hero. And we're going to read his quotes and then I'm done. Carver quotes, 99% of failures come from people. Hold on. Acting funny with me? Get back up there. 99% of failures come from people who have the habit of making excuses. That's right. Fear of something is at the root of hate for others, and hate within will eventually destroy the hater. Education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. When you do the common things in life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world. When there is no vision, there is no hope. Nothing is more beautiful than the loveliness of the woods before sunrise. There is no shortcut to achievement. Life requires thorough preparation. Veneer isn't worth anything. Learn to do common things uncommonly well. Whoa. See that right there? Always want to act up on me. This ends with the dinner pail statement. There we go. Learn to do common things uncommonly well. We must always keep in mind that anything that helps fill the dinner pail is valuable. So, y'all, what you think about that? Because this is what it is. It's about that time that I peace out. He's the greatest American hero. There is none next to him. He's all by himself. The Most High God put George Washington Carver, put George Carver here so that way he could save many, 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 many souls that came after him. That man, may he rest. I mean, may the Most High God bring him up to the heavens as soon as the judgment. I mean, he just, man, peace be upon his soul and upon his entire family. And I say that with all love and all respect. My people, it has been an honor. Greatest American hero.